Well, good to see some of you guys again. I see some familiar faces from the workshop in January and then from the wellness fair earlier this month. So good to be back with you guys again today. You're all tucking into your lunches, kind of getting happy while we start off with a not so fun topic of inflation and stress. But there's hope. There's hope. All right. So first of all, how did we get here? Obviously, over the last 3 years, there's been a lot of money, especially 3 years ago. A lot of monetary decisions were made. Nobody knew what was going on. The CARES Act, the PPP, all of these decisions that were made at the top levels pumped a lot of money into our economy. And I think we're starting to see some of the, repercussions of that with the inflation that we're dealing with today. In addition, with the pandemic, there were supply chain issues where we were having trouble getting, production, worker shortages, all that stuff. All this. Hold on. Okay, I think the clicker stopped working. There we go. Worker shortages. It was a perfect storm for the current climate that we're dealing with now. We were very blessed for probably 10 years to have extremely low interest rates. And that kind of drives the price of everything that we consume, that we buy. And eventually it had to go up, but all of these items probably fed into them shooting as high as we're seeing now. Here are a few statistics. 87% of Americans consider inflation, the rise in prices of everyday items like food, gas, as a significant source of stress. Who here is stressed about how much groceries cost now? Who else is stressed about how much gas prices have gone up? Yeah. Groceries, 10% increase in the cost of items. Rents. Who's a renter and has seen a huge rent increase over the past several years? Yeah. And some of it was greedy landlords, but some of it was, they didn't collect rents for, the better part of 2020. So all that to say, rents rose way high. They were still rising last year. We don't have the statistics in. So all of this, I see it in my clients, the impact on their budgets. It squeezes and squeezes, and it's hard to deal with. There we go. Stress about money is at the highest levels reported since 2015. So how do we control inflation? Can we really control inflation at the individual level? Probably not. This is a global, globally, people are dealing with inflation. Definitely here in the United States, dealing with inflation. But there are some things that we can control. And if we focus on those things that are within our control, we can improve our situation. And that's really what we should focus our effort and our energy on. So what can we control? We can control our mindset. And it sounds kind of hokey, but if you really choose to focus on the things that you can control and you choose to keep a positive mindset, it really does impact your actions and your behaviors and how you deal with money. You can control your time. Time management and finances and how you deal with, rising costs and how it impacts your budget. I always think of this in the terms of like the area of food in your budget, like groceries and restaurants. There's a trade-off between convenience and cost and time. And if you put more time in, it typically saves you money. It's just as Americans, as busy people, we typically don't want to invest the time. We want the shortcut. We want the convenience. But time is something we can control. And if you're really trying to control the impact of inflation on your finances, on your budget, you're probably going to have to put a little more time into it. We can control our actions, how you spend money, what you focus, what you're spending on. This is something that you can control. And I'll talk about it a little bit more in a few minutes when I go into the time quadrant. And then finally, you can control your budget. There's certain aspects of your budget, like if your rent goes up, or like your mortgage payment goes up because your escrow goes up. Those things you can't fully control. But there's other items like the food items, the entertainment items, the discretionary items that you can control. So those are these are the items that we want to focus on, the things that are solely within our control. So here's the big picture, and I touched on this a few minutes ago. Mindset. It sounds hokey, but when we focus on choosing positivity and when we focus on gratitude, it really does make a big difference when you're down in a hole and you're really stressing about money. It's a scarcity versus abundance mindset. And finances is 80% behavior, 20% head knowledge. So if you can control your mindset, if you can work on your mindset, it really does make a big impact on your finances. I've had clients that I've, prompted them to keep a gratitude journal, because writing things down every day at the start of the day or at the end of the day, what you're grateful for, things in your life that, maybe you've got these items over here that are stressing you out, but hey, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful that I get to spend time with my kids every night. I'm grateful that I have a great job to go to, and that I have the ability to work. It sounds hokey, but it's not, because it really does make an impact on your overall mindset and outlook. Holistic thinking. I see this a lot in my clients where they're trying to make changes in their finances. And I go back to this all the time because it is a discretionary item in the budget. And it's one where you can't avoid it. It's food. And the time trade-off, convenience versus time trade-off. When my clients start trying to save money and they're meal planning, they're meal prepping, they're really cutting costs and really trying to eat healthy, and they're cutting out the fast food, they're cutting out the restaurants, they see changes in other areas of their lives. They lose weight, all these things. So when you're thinking about making these changes and like mindset, finances, all this, you could be working on one area of your life, like finances, and it could pay off in multiple areas. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about inflation and stress. This is the long view. I mean, I don't have an instant solution for, just cutting inflation out, the impact of inflation out of your finances completely. But if you make incremental changes, it's going to pay off in the long run. And changes you make during the hard times, like times of inflation and high costs, they're going to pay off big when, things start to turn around, because this is it's a seasonal issue. I mean, we're going to come out of it eventually. And if you put the work in now and really, start to make these changes, you're setting yourself up for success in the future. Your support network, huge impact on your mindset and the way that you deal with things. Family, friends, who's going to be your biggest cheerleader as you are trying to make changes in your finances? Maybe you're paying off debt, maybe you're just trying to make changes in your budget. Make sure that whoever you've got surrounding you is on your team. They're gonna, back you up. They're not gonna be that friend like, hey, you need some retail therapy. Let's go shopping. If you're trying to stop spending. I think I mentioned it back in January. Financial Peace University. This is just one personal finance class that you can sign up for. There's groups happening all the time. You can go to financialpeace.com and check it out. Typically, you make more progress faster when you've got a community that you're all working towards similar goals. You're trying to accomplish similar things. So I'm a big proponent of Financial Peace University, any kind of personal finance, community group. And of course, one-on-one coaching. And you have the ability and the opportunity through Team Corner to take advantage of that with me. If you need someone that, can hold you accountable, that can kind of take a look at things and kind of give you recommendations on your specific situation, one-on-one coaching is great because it's tailored to you and it'll keep you encouraged and motivated and accountable to what you want to accomplish. All right, this is what I mentioned before. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, the quadrant of time. It contrasts urgent, not urgent, important, and not important. So something can be super important, but it's not that urgent. Can be not important, but very urgent. And this kind of goes to all aspects of our life, but here's how it applies to our money. So necessary for survival, I refer to this as the four walls, housing, food, transportation, ability to get to and from your job. I mean, those are urgent and important things. Like if you can't afford those things in your budget, then you got to make some tough decisions. All the way around to quadrant 4, that's kind of what I was talking about with retail therapy, wasteful and reckless spending. Like, is this really furthering me in like what I value the most in life? Am I still able to pay my bills? All of that. So like, this is a great exercise to go through. Like if you're making spending decisions, like, does it fit? Which quadrant of this does it fit into? And I don't think I included it in the worksheet, but I'll definitely get a copy to Kim if you guys want a copy of it, to kind of go through that exercise for whatever decisions you might be making. All right, so we can control our budgeting. If you're not planning for your income and tracking your spending, you may be in the hole each month and not even realize it. You really have to know how much money you're bringing in and how much money is going out every month. And if you're not paying attention to that, yeah, you might be setting yourself up for failure. Like I said, to combat inflation, if the cost of definite needs are going up, you may have to cut discretionary spending to make room for those. And it's not a permanent cut. Like I said, this is a seasonal thing. Whatever your goals are, like you have to determine what's the most important thing. And if some of those discretionary spending items are not part of those most important things, then they may need to take a back seat for a little bit. Maybe it's not cutting something out completely. Maybe it's making a swap, making a change. One of the biggest examples that I always give is as Floridians, we're big Publix fans. I love shopping at Publix. It's the Florida grocery store, but they're typically higher than other grocers. So I'm a big Aldi fan. I prefer to shop there over like Walmart just because I can get in and out really quick. But it's significantly cheaper than buying, and definitely cheaper than like Whole Foods or Fresh Market. So maybe that's one swap. Maybe it's a little further than Publix. Maybe it's not as convenient, but it's saving you significant amounts of money, and it's worth doing. If you're not regularly shopping your insurance policies, and obviously like homeowners insurance and auto insurance in Florida is ridiculous. I'm hoping that recent legislation that was passed this spring, we start to see the benefits of that in our policies, because I know personally my homeowners insurance renewal last August went up 43%. And it's like, we can't keep going this way. And we didn't even, on the East Coast, we didn't even have a major hurricane last year. Now, obviously, Ian affected the state insurance policy wise, but if you're not shopping your insurance policies, especially auto, or like your Comcast bill or whatever provider you have, your cell phone bill, like always be looking at your bills, always review that, see if you can get a better deal. You can cut, maybe you have all the premium channels on Comcast, like, do you need all of those channels? Like, could you cut that off and just have basic cable and be happy with that? It'd save you quite a bit of money. I'm currently looking at this because my Comcast bill went up by like $50 2 months ago. And it's like, nothing changed, just the promotion fell off. And like, I don't want to pay the amount that I'm paying. So like, I'm probably going to go just to internet only, because I don't even watch TV most of the time anyways. But shopping your insurance policies and utilities, you can trim a little bit more fat from your budget and make room for these rising costs. Subscriptions. One of my clients once referred to them as vampires in their bank account, because you probably don't even notice them. It's $3, $3.99, $4.99. It's not a big dollar amount, but that makes them deceptive, because it's like you don't even realize it's coming out month after month after month. And again, it's not a large amount, but it adds up over the years. The ones that typically do catch your attention is the ones that get billed annually and you forget about them. And so I always encourage my clients, if you have an Apple phone, go into your Apple account, look at the subscriptions, and see when those renewal dates are, keep a list of them somewhere where you're going to stay on top of them. And if there's subscriptions that you're not even using, cancel them. Or maybe you only use it 1 month out of the year or something like that. Cancel it. And then if you do find that you need it, bring it back at that point. But a lot of these, they just, they tend to like, oh yeah, I'll sign up for this free trial. And then the free trial ends and you get hooked. Again, needs versus wants. I talked about this before. As Americans, there's a lot of things that we think of, oh, this is a need. Do we really need like the latest iPhone? Yeah, like we're making monthly payments on a phone for 2 years when, a older model might suffice. If you're really trying to save money, if you're drowning because the costs have gone up because of inflation, like this is an analysis that needs to be done, because there's probably some things that are wants in your budget that really can be cut out for a time so that you can tackle the other stuff. Emergency fund. If you don't have an emergency fund, or if you think of your credit card as your emergency fund, like every little thing that goes wrong could be a huge amount of stress in your life. If you have an emergency fund, like it just relieves that stress, knowing that you've got a little bit there to get you through if something were to happen. And obviously, if something catastrophic happens, that's different. But if it's just $1,000 to cover, like if you got to replace a set of tires, it's $1,000 that then you don't have to put more debt on a credit card that you're trying to pay down, and that you're going to get assessed upwards of like 30% interest on if you don't pay it off. Like I said, helps prevent additional debt and additional interest. Debt payoff. Consumer debt right now is over $17 trillion in the US. And it's only going up because, like I said, credit card rates, just last year, as I was working with some of my clients, like, I was seeing in the low to mid 20s on most credit cards. And then all of a sudden they're up to like 30%. And you think about that, like every payment you make, 30% more in interest is getting tacked onto that balance every month. So like you're barely making a dent in the principal when the interest rates are that high. If you're not making serious progress on just paying extra on that balance every month, like it's going to take years and years and years to pay it off. So getting rid of debt and the resulting interest is one of the biggest changes you can make to your finances and your stress levels. And I think this is the largest area where you see the impact of inflation because those rates have just gone through the roof. And if you can get out of the debt, if you can be strategic with your budget, you can make room to make bigger payments and pay off your debt, that's going to have the biggest impact on your budget in relation to inflation. I've had some clients refinance their credit cards to a fixed rate personal loan. And I want to caveat that if you do that, obviously if you have good credit still and you refinance to a personal loan, like you cut the interest rate significantly, but you have to stop using the credit cards in order to get that paid off, because otherwise you're going to consolidate into a personal loan. And then you're going to have these credit cards up there. And if you keep using them, now you're going to have both. But if the interest rates are out of control, and if you have a plan and you have a plan to attack the debt and fit the extra payments in your budget, then refinancing to a fixed rate is definitely an option. It's just a matter of like, do you have the credit score to qualify for a good rate? So finally, like as far as inflation goes and future planning, like, do you have a vision for your future? Do you know where you're going from here? And how does that play into your current goal, your current plan? Because keeping in mind like what you want to do in the future is going to keep you motivated in the short term. Like thinking about whether it's retirement, whether it's, I don't know, creating a business someday and taking the steps to like work towards that. Like those are the things that are going to keep you motivated, like I got to control my budget now. I got to deal with this inflation now. I got to cut costs. This isn't going to last forever. That's what's going to keep you motivated. So it's super important to like keep that dream, whatever that future dream of yours is, keep it front of mind because it is going to help. Like, I got this. I'm going to do this. Same goes for retirement and planning and investing. Like, it's really easy to pull back on that type of stuff when times are tough. But if you have the ability, and you have the room in your budget, if you've cleaned up all the mess, gotten rid of the debt, investing in your retirement is one of the best things you can do, because the stock market and mutual funds and the market in general, it is a good hedge against inflation, because obviously the stock market's going up. Obviously there's bumps and bobbles, but as a whole, the market continues to rise. So don't let the current climate completely paralyze you when it comes to your future plans and your retirement planning, investing in your 401k and all of that, because that's really what's going to get you through to the end. Like I said, investing is an inflation hedge.